Hey guys, Ben here from Second Dynasty. Welcome to the chat. If you're in the chat, this is our regular Friday stream where we stream some progress updates and give you a look behind the scenes about how we work and what's coming up next. And yeah, we've got a ton of stuff to go through, and I prepared almost none of it. So let's have an interesting day. In the background you might hear the whimperings, the cryings, the insanity of Albin and Cornelia. But today it'll mostly be me talking in front of the camera, and before I blabber on too long, let me just double check. Video and audio are called Doug Jeffries, MVP there. So let's say hello to the chat. Let's see, we've got Shergul, Doug, Jaron, Timothy, Tamsin is here, Carbonet is of course Alvin.
Yes.
Clive is here, Marcus is here, Sam is here, and I'm sure there will be other people streaming in as we continue. Welcome one and all. It is indeed Friday, which means time for a beer after work. So, what are we looking at here? Well, we're talking Traveler today. And yeah, this missile is not actually a missile, it's a torpedo. And we'll be getting into this shortly. But there is so much other stuff I need to talk to you guys about. Yeah, there's just a lot going on behind the scenes. Albin has done a fantastic job of finishing off the unpronounceable Zerdani APC. It's not even an APC. Let's see, where do I have the update? Yeah, the Cheetle de Legraper.
I'm calling it the sheeted layer.
Yeah. Would you mind collecting the model gently with the troops in Albin?
I'll bring it to you, yeah.
Yes. I noticed there was a distinct lack of response there.
Yeah.
So if I get to my close-up camera, there's some other stuff we're going to show off today as well, but I think this is the most impressive. Let's see.
It is...
Well, let's not reveal it all at once. Alright, so here we go. It's a much more manageable size, this one. Mm-hmm. And if we turn it around, you can see it's actually got some troops going.
That makes the whole scene.
It does. It looks so much cooler with that. And it gives you an idea about how big it is. Mm-hmm. Talking about cockpits you can't really see out of. So yeah, I think Albin's done an awesome job on this. The doors will open. There's an interior. We made it distinct from the Imperials. Mm. Of course, you've got your working turrets. Oh. Do you feel threatened, yes. Punk?
I don't think I saw...
There's Zerdani here and they're going to blow your mind.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah, I know. It is Friday. It is Friday. There's some other things I wanted to show off. One is... let's get back to it a little quickly. One of them, I can't really show you the preview here, but if you want to follow these links, I'll put it in the chat. So, hopefully that works. And that will get you to a page for our upcoming Aesir Fleet BackerKit launch. Now, this is something new that we're doing and trying. It's our next big campaign. Big-ish. It's semi-big. It's a moderately sized campaign on a platform we've never tried out as an actual crowdfunding platform. We have, of course, used BackerKit to reach our past backers. We've used it to distribute Starship 1 to 3 in the past, and I've seen some good things about their pledge manager and their crowdfunding platform of late, and we got in touch with them, and so we are bringing 3 brand new Expanse style ships. So by Expanse I mean, rather than having FTL and artificial gravity and that sort of thing, there are tail sitter rockets that get their artificial gravity from acceleration, using fusion torches. And we're also revamping Sleipnir and the now renamed Notanante, the Fenrir. Follow the link I just put in the chat if you want to be notified and follow that project. It's not until February 24th, but we're getting out early with marketing for once. And one of the reasons we feel so confident about doing this is Soul Survivor has been completely delivered to date. John has informed me that all backers should have received their physical products. There was an update last night. If for some reason you haven't got yours yet in the post, or if there's something missing, or you want to take one of the last chances to order, John said his print store basically is going to switch full ball into Traveller, so we can get the Traveller deliveries out, which means both the Traveller Smallcraft and the Soul Survivor products he has on his store will be temporarily unavailable, so he can deal with that backlog. So it's your last chance if you want to get some like really awesome clear resin cryotubes or windows for the Erebus or that sort of ship. It's an ideal time to do it now. And the link was in the last Soul Survivor update. If John happens to be here in the chat, maybe he can link it. Otherwise, I think it's like shop.johngames.com or something like that. I'm glad we got to show that off. There's an awful lot more with Traveller. This is the update I'm currently writing to go out. Has this information. We can kind of see the interior of the ship now. Let's see, I'm just making sure this stream is actually working because it doesn't look like it stopped. Oh, I stopped it. Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't stop the actual stream. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I was right. Shop.johngames.com. There you go. So you can kind of see the interior of the no offense to Mongoose. I don't think this is a Mongoose problem, actually. I think this is an old school Traveller issue. But I think that Albin did a really fantastic job on this, and the render actually looks very close to the original art. Now, if I'm being honest, I really didn't like this design. But I have to admit, now that it is rendered in 3D and is fully functional, I kind of dig it. Like, it has an old school feel. It kind of makes me feel like, I don't know, this is quite an obscure reference, but it kind of feels like the kind of sci-fi from like Gentleman Broncos, where it's like, that version of the future that people thought it was going to be in the 60s and 70s rather than what it ended up being. So,
I don't think anyone could have...
Sorry, what?
I don't think anyone could have foreseen this timeline.
No, I don't think so either. No one could have foreseen this timeline.
Except for those who wrote Idiocracy, I guess.
Idiocracy, you got it pretty quite close. And to be fair, there is a 500-year period that we didn't see in Idiocracy that may be happening as we speak. Maybe a very average man is in cryosleep right now. So, it certainly feels like we're heading that way. Anyway, so there's the interior. I know it's not the best, largest image for you guys. Maybe I can find it and open it separately. All of my folders are messed up at the minute. Let's see. Now that's in the... So we're quite spread out, with most of the team focusing on getting the rest of the Fifth Frontier War out, and I am focusing on the new ships mostly, but let's see, images, and then I think there's... I love how Albin just called it Zodani APT.
Can't be bothered.
So here we go. This is a bit of a better image. So there's a few things that we took into consideration. There isn't really a great reference of what Zodani interiors look like for ships. There is one for a capital ship. It's very sci-fi and but not suitable for this. We kind of were on a time crunch, and also it's hard to unite the exterior design with the interior. So we have these sort of like storage closets, I guess. We did a more unique frame around the iris. So it's still a working iris. We took away the controls, figuring that, hey, if you're going to open this thing, you've got to have a psi rating of a certain level and it would be synced to your brainwave patterns or something. So the ultimate form of security. The seats actually heavily based on the ones from Beowulf, but kind of provide more of a an alien aesthetic over what the Imperial designs look like. Because I was kind of saying to Albin, the thing is, with the Zidani, they've not been influenced by Terran, as in Earth, culture at all, because they developed completely independently. In the Traveller universe, humanity has been seeded by the ancients. So, there were lots of human planets that never actually came into contact with each other until much later, and the Zidani Consulate is one of those sort of star empires. So yeah, we have seating for the 10 troops according to the statistics, 5 doors that open for very quick disembarkment, and you guys saw earlier on in the show how very cool it looks. So here's another angle. And then these holes here are actually where the clips would belong. So the clips are just absent at the moment. We haven't really shaded the interior either. I think you get the gist. There is full instructions ready to go as well. Quite comprehensive. So very happy with how that's coming out. And that makes the end of all of the base models, yes, that were promised. Now, on top of that, at some point, I think today or Monday latest, we have all of these miniatures releasing as well. So we've got 3 sword welders, we've got 3 Darians, we've got 4 Imperial security officers and 4 armored Varga. Now, interestingly enough, we only promised 2 security guards and 3 Varga. So there are 3 bonus miniatures in there. Obviously, we can only offer it in STL format. So the people that have a printed version that they've bought for the physical pledge, we will be picking, miniatures of those 4 that will be a part of the pack, because obviously with a physical print, you're restricted by the box, the material costs, production and whatnot. So this is kind of like an extra bonus we can offer to STL backers, because it doesn't really cost us much. Maybe in the future we would revisit the Zidani interior and come up with something a little bit even more exotic. But where things are, I'm quite happy, to be honest. And then on top of that, just a few more designs that we can show. Actually, maybe it would be better if I go into, let's see, if I go into sorry about that. It's always a reminder that maybe I need to take a sip of drink. Or maybe that I should have 10 minutes ago. I really should have had that yogurt. Anyway, let's see, we want to go into, look at all the bloody directories here. So if we go into MMF products there, and then we can look at the daily reveals. Like, you can get a better look at how cool these came out. So I'm very happy. The Varga in particular had an extra approval level from Mongoose, because they're quite particular about how the aliens look. You can see here they've got a sonic weapon in one option, a regular laser rifle, and then like a sonic weapon in one of the others. And some armored versions with the helmets on as well. I really like how these came out.
Very detailed fur.
Yeah.
Like a lot of tips and stuff. Interesting.
Yeah, not just the artist in particular has done a really good job. I'm not sure if that was an Xmas one. I don't want to miscredit people, so I'm not going to say exactly who it is. But so we've got the Darian infantry there. Oh. And you can see each costume is different. Like this one has a cape. This one just has the little loinclothy thing. I don't know what to call it. A groin talbot. And we've got the one with the mask off. So I guess a mask off moment. And you can see even the weapons are unique to the Darians.
The Darians, were they like rivals to the Sword Worlders, but way more advanced?
Something like that. Something dark side. Oh, now that is interesting. Explorer crashed. So maybe I can open this again. Let me see.
Space elves. Uh-huh.
Space elves. Haven't heard that one. I guess they got pointy ears. So that would make sense. Let's go into... Let's see how many times I can say basically today. Daily reveals, and we wanted to go into the Imperial Security Guards. So, let's be frank, security guards, and even the art for the security guards, not super interesting by default, but I think that this one in particular was Kaishiniko. We did have quite a bit of back and forth, or John did rather, in particular, about the security guards. But I think these will make really good generic security guards that are useful in most scenarios where you might need that kind of person. So, you know, it's got the analogues to the med kit, the walkie-talkie, the flashlight, and then we have some neutral poses as well, so it's not just combat. So I like this one in particular with the torch reaching for the gun, because that feels really like, hey, who goes there? You know, really happy with how these came out.
I really like the moustache.
Yeah, the moustache one, because I said they give you some facial variants, and we do have some. So we've got the mustachioed one, the elder gentleman. We've got Mr. Thick Lips here. He almost looks like Andy from Romulus. And then our Mr. Torch guy that could, you know, quite easily fit into Stranger Things or E.T. And then our last line to show off are the Sword Worlders. So from afar it's hard to tell, but they do have unique faces and bodies. So we've got beardy McBeard face. We've got our, you know, cool slick back mohawky type sniper, and we have our berserker, I guess you might say, with the gun and axe combo. So really working on the space Viking vibe, right? And these are just a few of the many models we're working on. A lot of the new models that are coming up are singles. So like, for example, I think I just had it up, yeah. We've got Governor Shitalias. I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, Mongoose. This is just the first run. I do think this first version, it needs maybe some refinements to maybe slim down the body a little bit and make it so that it reads as a bit younger than it does when it's in black and white, because the character looks like he's in his mid-30s. We have the Zidani security base model done. So this will be a similar circumstance where there's a bunch of different models. Obviously at the moment they're missing their sidearms and whatnot. And then we have the base model for Matriarch Sirus. Not sure if that's the correct pronunciation. But yeah, this is after a few iterations. We did make some modifications on the armor a little bit, in particular just the curve here on the chest plate, because it was really not reading as female at all. And I know it still might seem a little bit bulky, but in 3D it will read a lot better as a sort of female model, and that was also with a lot of feedback from Mongoose. So this isn't quite finished, this update, at this point in time. We do have a number of different models in production on top of that, but nothing to show you guys just yet. So yeah, lots and lots of updates for Traveller. We will be releasing until everything is done, and the rest of today's session is going to be focusing on the Gripen, which is of course one of those stretch goals that needs doing. I think most of the daily releases should be done by towards the end of the month. The miniatures might be a bit slower, and then there are one or two robots that we still need to get commissioned or finished. So we're focusing on the vehicles first in studio, whilst the sculptors are doing their thing. So probably, if we're being honest with ourselves, the last models will be released in February. But I really would not want to go live with another project unless we're completely done with the STL phase of that one. So we've got a couple of busy weeks ahead of us. So yeah, this is actually one more thing we want to talk about first. Right, yes.
The torpedo looks awesome.
Thank you, and you'll see why in a sec, in a little bit. So let's just take this back a little bit, and once again talk about the Aesir Fleet. I'm not going to, I already linked it, I think it's still, yeah, this was the landing page. So it's been in all our media that we're putting up lately. We haven't put anything on social media yet. But image-wise, I just want to briefly go over this. I did this last week as well, but I mean, this is one of the things you do when you're trying to promote something new. So this is a bunch of new ships in the sort of like tail-seated design. Also, some familiar shapes coming, but I wanted to show off what I've been working on lately. That's what it was, because I've got some physical models. So I have been, I'm really going to take a risk now and open another copy of Maya. We have 5 ships in total we're releasing / re-releasing. We have the Nidhogg, which is, it will be our longest ship technically by the time it's printed. It's longer than a Chimera by about 5 centimeters. But obviously part of that is the antenna at the front. It has 5 PDCs, 3 torpedo tubes, and a partridge in a pear tree. 6 engines. Then we have the Fenrir, which is actually the Notanante configuration of the Sleipnir. Sorry about that, guys. And the main difference is it's the revised version from the end of 2024. So it has wider decks, more playability, and it uses Gridforge where possible to add some customization options. Most of the decks on this will use a combination of Gridforge and OpenLock where appropriate. The Sleipnir, of course, re-released with the updated files. It's also got increased printability and some increased detail. Then we have the Ratatosk, which is a little bit more manageable, a sort of patrol ship of sorts, with a single torpedo launcher and 2 PDCs. And then we have the Valkyria, which is just a 24-meter shuttle. So that'll be quite manageable. The main bulk of it's about 30 centimeters long, so it's like 32 centimeters, something like that, from here to here. So something that should be quite affordable for people that don't want to commit to a massive project. Anyway, that's what's coming up. Last thing before we delve into this, and let me just go to my resources and start opening my turrets. So the last thing I was going to mention is that Gridforge, let's open a new thing and go to My Mini Factory. It should be in the link, but if we go to Frontiers, come on, My Mini Factory, don't embarrass me. You can see that we have our Gridforge campaign ending on the 13th of January, which is in another 3 days. So you've got to get your pledge in if you're missing that. I believe that's going out tonight with some promotions. And this is essentially the new system we're talking about. So check it out if you haven't. Links in the description. Let's move on. So this is a scene you guys might have seen a while back. All of the turrets we've done. I keep finding new ones that I forgot, like the missile turret from Operation Maelstrom, and because that came up on our Discord.
Oh, I forgot to check.
I'm not that worried about it. But I've also been working. Let's focus first on. I made this turret just for fun on Monday, which is like a Space Whiz. It's based on the Sea Whiz close-in weapon system, which is used on modern like frigates and corvettes to shoot down incoming missiles and I guess drones. And I believe the weaponry used on it is basically the same gun that's on the A10 Warthog, so it's sounds really nice, and there's a couple of nice little videos out there where these things, you know, just happen to be tracking civilian airliners or that sort of thing and freaking out the crew. So I made this little turret, and I can show it off because I have a physical print. Let's see, let me switch to the close-up. So here we go, this is it, and there's 3 different guns that you can actually use, so the gun is a separate part. The printer needs tuning again, but the main difference is I've been looking at what we can do to entice returning backers for this new campaign, and a part of that has been creating some PDC variants. So not only have I actually gone back and made the PDCs a lot more print friendly than they used to be, like for example, let's see, this should be the original version. So the base at the end here just has this one peg hole. The part on top of that, wait, does that actually use a separate peg? I could have sworn it was integrated. Yeah, this is the original with the integrated peg. Obviously that way I print the greatest. One of the reasons why we switched to using separate pegs is because you can print them on the side where they're a lot stronger. And even have a little bit of ratcheting on the inside. And so I started doing some variants, not only of the turrets, so if you really want to get a Rossi look, we've got an option here that looks a lot closer to that. Some variants coming. And we have the Space Whiz. So this is the arm-mounted version. Let me see. Where do I have one of these? So I'm just going to insert off camera here. Oh, that is tough on the fingers. So I don't have the housing printed, which is what I was going to print today, but you can see here that Space Whiz version with the updated sort of, it would sit like this. You can rotate it, move the barrel. It's actually got quite a bit of range.
That looks so fun.
It does look kind of cool. And then I started doing some arm variants as well. So if I take this off, I've been working on this sort of like more like robotic arm, and I don't know if this is the freshly printed one. I don't think it is, but you can see there that it's just got some variants. So there'll be more options for what you can actually use and decorate your PDCs with. So just a few different things, and since the scene is also animated, we can actually show you how it works. So it actually does have its own custom doors, so it'll be the whole thing. If you sign up and join the Aesir campaign in the first 2 days, you'll get this whole turret rig free. We might do some more ones, but you can see the storage animation there compared to the first one. So the doors open up, and it pops up, and there you go. That always looks cool, doesn't it? Anyway, let me get back to looking at my chat, because I've been ignoring you guys. Let's see, what are you guys saying? Overboard says, I'm too late for a pledge. For what?
Was it for Traveler?
Oh, for Traveler, yeah. For physical pledges, yes, I think so, unfortunately. But you will be able to make STL pledges on the Pledge Manager. I think that's open now, actually. So if you just look for the 5th Frontier War on myminifactory.com, you should find it, and you can make a late pledge. I do need to link that, actually. Let's see. Like the light transport ship. Is there a player upgrade path between the ships? Players start with the smallest and upgrade to the larger ships over time, only printing the differences. It's a nice idea, Custom Blink, but no, in the sense of, like, they will share a number of components. But, I mean, they're still distinct hulls. You could probably, you can certainly expand the ships using the existing parts, but not like a deliberate, hey, put this part on here and you get this model version. I kind of feel like that doesn't let us be distinct enough. Shadow Liger says, brrr, makes me happy. Will Richard says, put a Benjaminin on it and he can take a space whiz. Don't tempt me, Frodo. Tamsin says, I think there was some footage from a year or so ago of one of them firing drones / missiles in the Red Sea off Yemen. Neil says, big bada boom. Great reference to a great movie. Jaron says, would the Sea Whiz fit in a standard turret ring? That is a standard turret ring, yeah. There is a standard turret version. Right here. So, I don't know how we're going to release this one. But if you do want to test print it, just get on our Discord, which I think the link is below as well, and go into one of those many different threads and just say, hey, I would love to test out the Space Whiz. And I'll probably send you the model to test out. Let's see, Shadow says, so if I make a Gridforge robotic arm for a hangar facility, I should DM it to you using those arms as a base. That's kind of like... This will help you make robotic arms, yes. Actually, it will. Now that I think about it, definitely. It will provide you some basic options. Custom Blink, no is a valid answer. Thank you. I feel validated. And Tamsin says, Will Richards, there is a Benjaminin with a rotary cannon coming out of the mouth. There is indeed. I don't think we actually made a turret out of it though, did we?
Sure.
So Ben is encouraging lots of people to take a whiz on the Discord. That's correct. The Benjaminican. Alright, we're not here for turrets. Although, seeing how the chat has lit up about the turrets, I think maybe that's a good thing. So let's get back to Traveller and we'll talk about the Gripen. So, this was one of those ships where I just said to Mongoose, look, I'm not feeling this. Is it okay if I do my own interpretation? So, looking at the Gripen, it's a Sword Worlds fighter. This is from the Sword Worlds supplement for the Traveller role-playing game from Mongoose Publishing, if you want to get a hold of it. So, a lot of these designs for the Sword Worlds are quite different. And even my design is a little bit different as well. But anyone who knows Swedish or is interested in the Saab fighters, for example, knows that Gripen is actually a jet fighter today that is serviced by the Swedish military. So there's now about, 80 plus of them or something in NATO, which is really cool. I love watching them fly over, especially in the summertime where they get low and do their patrols. My dog doesn't love it very much, but I do. And we always get a little air show here at a certain time of the year, around about the start of June. And they fly over the lake that's just out the window. Anyway, very cool. But yes, the Sword Worlds are space Vikings, and they've kind of taken the names for things from all the different Scandinavian languages, to be honest. But Gripen is the most Swedish of maybe the craft. It's obviously a nod to the Saab Gripen. It means the griffin, as in like the mythological creature, and follows a long line of Saab interceptors and fighters, that sort of thing. But yeah, so we have this really blocky version, and I don't know, the aesthetic wasn't appealing to me. It's no offense to the original artist, but also I don't always love when there's an incongruency between the deck plan and the art. And so I've kind of tried to marry the two. So I still have kept some elements from the original version, and the artist was kind enough to reach out and send some additional pictures. So for example, we've got a top image here, and it's sad in a sense that they don't have this angle in there, because it is more appealing, I think, than the side angle. It's like a lot of ships, they do have like a good side and a bad side.
Just like people.
Just like people. And the same is true of my version. So, for example, the things that I've kept is the sort of slanted wing design. There is another, let me see, I don't know if this will work, but maybe I can, yeah, that's not working. There we go, we've got the side view as well. We've got the back view. So you can see that it had this sort of shape. The ship itself, tonnage-wise, you can kind of see it again next to the Tlatl. Tlatl is kind of hard, like volume-wise, yes, it would fit into 8 tons. The problem is most of that is wings, and it kind of like, it's all that question of how much room does it take up in cargo. In practice, though, you can't really put a bunch of the other stuff around the fighter. So in that sense, it's much larger than just 8 D-tons. This is supposed to be 10. You can kind of see from the workshop there might be some old Rampart parts left here, so you can kind of get... It still feels much larger than the Rampart, even though the Rampart is much more like central volume style. So there is a bit of leeway there. Let me turn all of this off so we can focus on this. Now, the description of this specifically says, the Gripen is designed to provide a measure of defense against an incoming assault shuttles and similar craft. It is an unusual hybrid of starship and vehicle systems, creating a craft that can reach low orbit and engage enemies operating there, but it's intended to be ground-based and operated by a planetary rather than the Space Forces. Or operated by planetary rather than space forces. Okay. No internal gravity. It uses a where did it go? I'm trying to look for the statistics. A high burn thruster. So it's more like a super efficient chemical rocket to get up into orbit. Has a a thrust of 10, which is actually more effective than maneuver drive, so much faster, but you only got about an hour of full thrust, so not great. And then it does say it has like a thrust 0M drive, just so it can kind of glide back in, and that compensates in a sense. So it's like, yes, it has a very high efficiency thruster, but it has an M drive, which is kind of nullifying to some degree the weight and mass of that ship, I guess, with a sort of like artificial gravity sort of thing. And then it says it has non-gravity aerofins, whatever that means. It is streamlined, so I kind of decided to put some more fins on it rather than just wings. Here, yes, you could say it has 2 engines, but really these engines just indicate, where the drive space is for the thruster. So this is really just a symbol on the map showing where the machinery is, not how the machinery looks. So I kept the single engine, and I also kept the guns are almost exactly the same, and then some of these elements of the nose I kind of built in. And if I was naming this, to be honest, I would probably use the name Raven. I guess you would. What would you say, like Korp?
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that word in Swedish.
So it is in some ways way more appropriate for space Vikings. They didn't have griffins in Old Norse mythology. They had plenty of monsters which you could have chosen from. Gripen is obviously a Greek, as a griffin is a Greek chimera. And I think it's got like the head of an eagle, body of a lion, maybe the snout of a snake or something like that.
I thought you said of a snail at first.
Yes. Yeah, wonderful creature that. Hey, don't knock it until your face is a flail snail. But I kind of like gave it this beak-like shape. So I did kind of make it more aerodynamic because it's just meant to be this, basically a massive engine that pushes this thing into orbit to intercept. Now, weirdly, it is armed with 2 laser cannons that are only vehicle class, and then a single starship class torpedo.
Oh.
Now, the torpedo is... I kind of like went for a mix between... You can kind of see there's just a tiny little nod here to a proton torpedo from the Star Trek films. In the sense of it's not completely round, I've kind of made it sort of like oval shaped. And then the rest of it does have a thruster at the back, not a propeller. But I've left in this little... Oh, I wonder what happened there. That looks messed up. Oh well, I'll have to fix that. But yeah, it looks like I've accidentally extruded some areas or done something like that, but I'll have to do a bit of repair. But we've got some RCS in there, some reaction control thrusters, just to adjust, which direction that's pointing. The thing is, like, and this is part of my issue with Traveller in general. It says here, an unusual hybrid of a starship and vehicle that can reach low orbit to engage enemies operating there. But specifically it says it's to provide a measure of defense against incoming assault shuttles and similar craft. Now, an assault shuttle would be small craft, but still considered, at the starship scale of weapons. And they arm it with a torpedo, which is specifically designed to fight against much larger ships. In fact, it gets a penalty to hit things if it's not over 2,000 tons.
Uh-huh.
So there's even an incongruency in the description of the vehicle itself. Presumably they would have a bunch of variants that might be armed with missiles or other weapons. So let's say that this version is more focused on hitting larger capital ships before they can launch their assault shuttles. But the concept I think is really cool. I like the idea of a flying wing, and since this is based on the Gripen, that is why I wanted to give it a bit of Saab DNA. And I looked for... I've just got to find the right Maya. So this is actually inspired heavily by the Saab Draken, which was an earlier model fighter from, I think it was the first supersonic fighter. At least in Europe. And this was during the time where Sweden was completely neutral and going for an armed neutrality policy. Since the last time we looked at this, I've integrated the wings more. The mesh is all smooth. I'm going to add back some of this paneling, the big thick stuff, but I was going to make it separate geometry, so it won't just be this like lined section of holes. I'll probably refine the engine further too. I don't know really if the all these sharp angles are that appropriate. Maybe I will, soften the sharpness a little bit. Maybe the lines are a little bit stealthy towards the back as well, and we don't really need all of that. But the thing is, it looks fierce, it looks dangerous, it looks like, sort of the nose of it kind of looks like a bird. And then if you actually look at the delta wing of a Draken, it has a very similar shape. And you'll note too that this follows the deck plan a lot closer in shape. So, the torpedo is actually inspired by the Mark 47 torpedo, which is a current Swedish ordnance, which it's not necessarily a torpedo that is used for war. It can also be equipped with sensors, so a lot of them are used like sonar equipment, so you kind of like drop it out the back of the ship. It has a cable leading to the ship. It can act as like a decoy or have a sensor package in it. I did have some reference images, but I don't know where I put them now. Here it is. So this is one of the sales documents for this torpedo, and you can kind of see where the DNA is coming from. And they can even swap out the warhead there, like I said, for a bunch of sensor packages. So I kind of wanted to bring this design back into things. Now, those of you that are very traveler-oriented people might share some of my frustrations with incongruencies, and this is by no means limited to Mongoose. This is an issue throughout all of Traveler. But, let's see, where did I put the chat so I can see you guys chatting? But it says specifically in the High Guard update that when it comes to torpedoes, it says here, additional torpedoes may be purchased for a ship, increasing its stock of ammunition. The torpedoes can be replenished after use. 3 torpedoes consume 1 ton. So, I built this so it has the volume of 1/3 of a D-ton. So it is stretched, like this is 4 inches long. We can kind of see, or 4 squares long, volume-wise. Obviously a lot more narrow. The idea being that, you know, if you had bunched them up a lot, volume-wise, in these 4 squares, you could fit 3 of them if it was sort of like stacked around and that sort of thing. Let's see what people are saying. So, a torpedo sales document. Unfortunately, the fine print shows you don't get the discount unless you order 20 at a time. Lasers for shuttles, torpedoes for carriers. Sounds like a backup plan to me, indeed. But the thing is, the lasers are vehicle grade, meaning they can't really damage starships. Anyway. Let's see what else. Marcus says, time to get to work. Everything is looking great. Keep up the good work. I assume you already went, but thank you very much. Shergel says, we'll have to see when Costco stocks the torpedoes. Maybe. And then Brian says, love the look of it. Also looking forward to seeing it and all the other 5th Frontier warfighters in 1 to 270 scale for dogfights on the tabletop. Yeah, 4 squares would be really small. Also, we have not promised that. I don't think. So I think you would need to find a different scale for that. You can see the underside is the most undeveloped section. Let's see, before we run out of time, I just want to fix this because it's really bothering me. How did it get like that? Okay, so we can address this pretty simply. I'm going to delete this one. We're going to go back to the master one. And we're going to have a look and see if we can fix this. So, if I make a copy, we can just pull out this part. Let's select... Wait, what's going on there? Huh. Go back to there, and we'll delete this altogether, and then we'll just take this and we're going to half it. Alrighty, delete that side. Just we'll mirror it and then mesh combine. So we're actually doing some Maya work, not just babbling on for an hour. Though, mind you, we've only got 10 minutes left. My voice is also dying. Normally, I wouldn't, like all of this is about printability, so it'll print flat and standing like this. The ring, in some sense, is to remind you it's a torpedo. So this is like, I often talk about design language, and specifically related to like the design language of a universe. Like, for example, the Aesir Fleet ships, that is obviously Expanse inspired, Expanse adjacent. It feels like it could live in the Expanse universe, right? That's what I mean by design language. But this can be applied to all things. So, for example, this is a space torpedo, but we've used the design language of a real torpedo to make it feel like it is a torpedo. So it is recognizable as a torpedo, even though, you know, it's made for space. And you could easily just shorten this thing, and all of a sudden you've got something that looks like a bomb instead. So I kind of like the look of it, to be honest. And we need to recombine these. There we go. So the issue has been addressed. So that's going to be mounted below. Of course, we're going to make it compatible with our regular weapon systems, which means you should be able to use this on other models from us as well. If the guns can't hurt ships, maybe that's why the nose is so pointy. Maybe. I mean, if it's going at thrust 10, the ship itself is a missile. So that is one way to get to Valhalla. I don't know if the Sword Worlds actually believe in that, but and again, that's part of the reason why I think Raven would be a better name, aside from the look of the thing, is because it is actually associated with Norse mythology. What is it? Hugin or Mugin? Or Munnin. I can't remember the exact names, but those are the names of the ravens of, or approximate names, of Odin's raven. So he has like 2 ravens, and it was known as a symbol that the Vikings used on their flags and whatnot. Battle standards, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe painted on shields. I don't want to say for sure, because I'm not an expert. But I have more than a passing knowledge, at least. Right, you know, with the cancelling of X-Wing, it would be smart for Traveller to make a Starfighter combat game to fill that niche. The problem with Traveller is the space combat will not work like in Star Wars. It doesn't quite work like the Expanse, but I believe it is a little bit more Newtonian than that. Let's see. It's a great idea, actually. Something we can do to community effort on Discord. You mean the game? Like, I mean, I think having a game that works in it, sure. And I believe it has had some iterations of games that can work like that. I just don't know if it would be a one-for-one replacement. Thrust 10 just means you can get up to ramming speed quicker. Exactly, Tamsin. Hugin or Munnin. Yep. Anyway. Let's see. Now I'm going to be quiet for the next 5 minutes and just model. I kind of feel like doing that, but I'll try and hold out. But I can feel my voice going. Right, so yeah, and the idea being, just get up there, drop your ordnance, and then you glide back down. Although presumably thrust 10, whatever that may be, is considerably faster than what a... I think it's like 10 Gs of acceleration or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Which means you're probably facing G-lock just getting into orbit. Alright, well, the Battlestar Galactica miniatures game used some Newtonian ideas and was a great game. Oh, cool. Love Battlestar. I was watching the episode where they escaped from Caprica the other day, just because I wanted to see that space battle again. And then I watched 3 space battles from The Expanse as well. So, anyway. Gotta have some benefits to having all the streaming services. Right, so... I think what we need to do is bring back some of this paneling from the original version. I don't want to kill it altogether. It does fit into some designs, although I would have made different choices if I was, designing it from scratch. This obviously is going to be some people's taste in things. It's just a case of like when we have so many models to do, I kind of wanted my opportunity to leave an impression. So I would almost push for Mongoose to say, hey, can we just call this the Raven instead, and say it exists in parallel to the other one. That way we've got kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah, so we need some more base paneling. We need some more of the thicker plates, I think. I do kind of like the idea of this geometry changing, although I've tried to do it in such a way that it is not as bolted on, I guess. We still need to add some more detail into the wings here. I'm kind of adding back some of the lines. I want this all to kind of have some symmetry. Like, let's see if this is that's not right. Is that right though? No, I don't think it is. So what I'm kind of trying to do is reduce some of the geometry, because we don't need it all. And even the wings, like just doing small things like making the flaps just slightly narrower than the frame of the wing, even though it's kind of deliberately bulky for printing purposes. Like I thought about how this is going to print. It's going to be sliced down the middle, so it'll print in two parts. We may need to probably curve off this little hatch, or the other alternative is that we split it into three parts, but I'd rather keep it as two. So we are going to have that issue no matter what, and I need to keep that in mind. But ideally you want to keep those tail fins in the same place. Sorry, as one solid piece. Let's see. I know some folks who have modded a full thrust with vector movement for space fighter combat. I see. Nice. Shergol says, if you have grav drives, you have protection from the acceleration for the pilot. That is true, although they are obviously a lot more limited. And are they engaged at the same time, is the question. Will that interfere with, for example, the acceleration of the other thruster? Yes, original Traveller used vector combat. And Custom Link says, I love a good space battle video. Me too, my friend, me too. So yeah, I managed to pretty much talk my way through it instead.
What the fuck?
Who's talking to you, Alvin?
My phone reacted.
Well, I mean,
That's weird.
as long as that reactor didn't go critical.
So as long as it's...
I was being silly.
Yeah.
So your phone reacted, and I'm like, as long as it didn't go critical.
Uh-huh.
His phone just said, ouch, that hurt. So, maybe it hurt me.
Yeah, it did. For some reason.
Good. That makes me feel comfortable.
Yay!
So, I think we're just doing a tiny little, let's see, 0.1 offset. It's 0.1 of a millimeter, and if anyone's wondering, actually, that clearly uses something more. Let's try a 0.2. That looks accurate. And then we maybe go up 0.3, but we can add a little bit to the design. Let's see, let's go up here. Actually, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to... We're just going to take away a few little bits and bobs here. And that should help give us a few more panel lines to play with. And if we really want to get clever, we would actually do this independently and have a bit of asymmetry. So before I get too into this, I'm just going to duplicate this model. And now I'll do my extrude. And I think I want 0.2 again. 0.2 up, 0.2 in. That looks right. And then we can just grab this like so. Do a repetition. So paneling is one of those things that takes a while, and really you are served by a little bit of asymmetry occasionally. So I try to keep in mind why a fighter might have a bit of asymmetry. Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love that.
But do you know what you will love?
What?
I sent something on Discord. An artist rendition.
What? On Discord?
Yes.
Okay, we'll share that with the. Thank you, Tamsin, for this beautiful. Yeah, it is what it is. I love it that there's just a little bollocks hanging out the back as well. Anyway, thank you for that, Tamsin.
Well, I was one who made the picture, but it was based on her comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't happy with that, so what I'm going to do is just merge these to the center and we're going to sew it together. So essentially reducing the number of panels. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I can see there already there's a bit of nasty geometry we need to deal with as well. Mostly because it seems, for some reason, that, see this one line that's here. So let's try and get that selected. If I select that, should be able to delete that. So I'm just going to go back and merge these all, because I think just like having two panels makes more sense. It felt too busy with more of those. But yeah, my general tips for paneling is keep things mostly symmetrical and then have just a tiny bit of asymmetry. And that might represent sensors, it might represent other functionalities that a ship has. You can make it up, but you don't have to have it all thought out. But if you look at the nose of most fighters, they're not actually fully symmetrical. There's often some kind of equipment, be it that it has a nose cannon and it's offset. There's all kinds of things that can be different. And sometimes just having a tiny little indentation like this just breaks up a panel line. And occasionally, if you're like, okay, this isn't quite enough, you could go and just do something like this, where you go back in again. So let's just go minus 0.1, 0.1, and then up again, 0.1, 0.1. So you get just like what looks like some kind of panel that sits on top. Now, I'm not happy with that location, but you get the principle. I think actually if we just move this down one, it would look alright. And actually we might, I think actually what we'll do is we'll put this here instead. No, that's too far off. Or I would do this all differently if I had a do-over. But I'm not going to have one. It's 4:05, we need to end things unfortunately. But this is my progress on the Gripen. You can see my reasoning and why I've done things this way. We will be releasing as soon as possible those additional files for the 5th Frontier War. There will be much more rapid releases now that we're at that point. And I want to thank you guys for joining me. And I will see you guys next week. So, take care of yourselves, enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back with an update next Friday. Cheers, everyone. Bye.